Hi, I'm Fred Martino. I am Director of Content for KRWG Public Media in Las Cruces, New Mexico. I have worked actually in broadcasting for more than 3 decades. I worked in commercial television before getting into public radio and television in Grand Rapids, Michigan, more than 20 years ago. I worked there for about a decade, and I've been here in New Mexico for about 13 years. So it's the longest job I've ever been in, and I really enjoy it. I do get a chance here to interview a lot of people, so it's unusual for me to be on the other side, being the interviewee. I get a chance to do radio and television stories, and I manage our team. So we have a team of people who work in television and also work in radio. And it's a fun job, it's very rewarding, and I work at a university. Many of the jobs in public radio and television are at universities. So that's a nice thing to know. It's very exciting to be at a university. When I worked in commercial television, of course, commercial television stations are owned by for-profit companies, and that's a very different environment. So something to think about when you're in college. If you go to college to study, uh, and may want to work in broadcasting, try to get your foot in the door. Try to get an internship in the radio or television station at your school if they have that. If there isn't one at your school, try to get an internship at any broadcast entity that is close enough to where you're going to school. Great question. So I grew up in the suburbs of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and growing up there, that is how I became interested in broadcasting. My school district had at the time, a very highly developed broadcasting program. In junior high school, I did something that a lot of students do who are interested in broadcasting. I worked for the junior high school, uh, and today many times it's called middle school uh, television station, and where they have the morning announcements, and I did that. And then when I went to high school, I continued with that, but I also worked on the school newspaper. And before I graduated, our high school started a broadcast radio station. So I got a chance to do some work on an actual broadcast radio station, ran the audio board. So before I went to college, I actually had some experience in doing that. In terms of New Mexico, how did I come here? Well, I worked, as I mentioned, in Grand Rapids, Michigan for 9 years. And my job there was strictly news and public affairs. I was the director for that division. And I wanted to broaden out and work in other programming and also in what we call community engagement. So, getting out in the community and making partnerships in the community to help build what we do in public radio and TV. And this opportunity came up. I'd never lived in the Western United States, and so I wanted to try something new, and and I love this area. I really love it here. It's a beautiful place and a very exciting place to work because a lot is happening, being right at the border with Mexico, and we also serve Texas. So we serve what we say is we serve 3 states. That's Texas, New Mexico, and Chihuahua in Mexico, and we serve 2 countries, Mexico and the United States. Well, absolutely, the radio and television experience in high school piqued my interest, got me the chance to apply for competitive scholarships to go to colleges that really were known for their broadcasting programs, and I ended up attending Ithaca College in Ithaca, New York, which has for many decades been known for its uh, successful broadcasting program. In fact, the anchor of the ABC World News Tonight, David Muir, is one of our esteemed graduates at Ithaca College. Um, so, having that experience in high school, I think, did help me a great deal in terms of focusing my college uh, career and getting a scholarship to go to college, because I couldn't have afforded Ithaca without a scholarship, so that was important. But academically, my high school experience was the single most important thing in my career success. And what it was I had an incredibly dedicated series of teachers, one in particular who taught a class in English, who helped me work on my writing skills, and who was the advisor for the high school newspaper. I strongly suggest every student who's interested in any kind of communications career, it doesn't matter if it's broadcasting, public relations, even if it's a job that's not strictly communications, maybe it's management, but communications is a very important part of any kind of uh, role, including management, that they work on the high school newspaper. And today, of course, that may be a high school website, not an actual printed newspaper, because you learn how to communicate with others well, interview well, you learn how to write well, and you learn how to think, right? Learning how to write is also learning how to think. You put an outline together, you organize your thoughts, you decide what you want to communicate in a story, and you mix together various sources into that story. So you learn a lot of skills through writing. And it will be incredibly important in your college career, because you're going to do a lot more writing in college than you did in high school. And it will be very important in your career as well. So, write as much as you can in classes, and hopefully in some kind of co curricular experience, whether that's the yearbook, the newspaper or website at your school, whatever it is. Write and write often. So, working in public radio and working radio in general is really exhilarating. It's super exciting because, unlike my work in television, in radio I do it all. So I am the producer. I am the technical producer. I run the audio board. I do the editing of the audio, do all the research, the interviews, and then put everything together. And when I say put everything together, that can be very simple. Like for today, I'm doing a story to preview Vice President Kamala Harris's visit to El Paso, and that will air on our radio station as she is flying here tomorrow. And then while she's here tomorrow, it'll be on the newscast. And it's a very simple thing. I mean, I record a soundtrack in the audio board, and we have a soundbite from a politician talking about her visit, and then another soundtrack that I record, and I edit that together into a short story that's just a little over a minute long, that'll air during a radio newscast. Some of the other work, though, is much more involved. So I do an hour long news magazine every week. And so we not only have stories that we produce here, but we pull in stories from partners all over the state of Texas and in New Mexico, sometimes even into Mexico. Fortunately, audio, this is another way it's a little easier than television. The file sizes are smaller, so we can literally have someone email us an MP3 file, an audio file of a story, even if they're thousands of miles away. And that allows us to then uh, put that into our audio system. And I have to every week with an hour-long news magazine decide what are the most important stories of the week, and decide a mix of stories. So I put together a rundown and then record that all together and edit it together and make sure that it fits into the hour-long block. Uh, it's a lot of work, but it's also very rewarding. It's something I enjoy a great deal. On the television side, it's much different because my work is much more in that area is much more just the editorial side of things. So I plan the shows, I write, I host the shows, book the interviews, write the questions for the interviews, but I don't do the technical side of things. So I have a production team that runs the cameras, that presses the button on the video switcher, and then edits everything together. And in public TV, unlike commercial television, we do lots of variety in terms of our television programming. We could have everything from a show that's an in-depth interview to a news magazine where it's a half hour and it's all field reporting. We do documentaries, so we'll have a whole half hour on one topic. And we even have forums in our studio. So we may bring guests in and invite the public to come and ask questions in the studio. And we'll do an hour-long forum on a topic. So there's so much variety. And that's what makes public media really exciting to work in, is that you get to do a lot of different things. I would be remiss too if I didn't mention something else that's very important for all of you to know. I already emphasized writing, but another thing that I will emphasize, and I think is so critical today, is in high school and college, gain technical skills, digital technical skills. So, yes, this may be recording audio or recording video and editing those things together, but also learn computer work, learn IT work, learn how to code in a website, learn how to build a website. There are tools online to learn how to do this for free using templates, but you should also take courses where you can do some of the more advanced work, because uh, digital efforts are a big part of my job as well. I do both some of the technical work and a lot of the design and editorial work on our website and on social media. So those things are really important, and they're a big part of the audience that we reach today. So, when I was in my undergraduate degree in college, I did take a communications management track. So I learned some of the principles of management then. About a decade later, when I worked in Michigan, I was able to pursue a master's degree in public administration. So I completed that, and here in New Mexico, completed a doctorate in educational administration. That was not something I had planned to do, but anyone who works in management for a long time will tell you uh, there are there are challenges and things that occur that remind you all of the time that you need to be a lifelong learner. You always have to be learning, and management is such a complex area that the more education that you can get and the more experience that you can get, the more valuable you will be, and the more that you will, I think, enjoy your job. That's been the case for me. So I do everything from strategic planning to, as I mentioned, running our digital and broadcast operations. I do hiring and training of employees, professional development opportunities. We work a lot on recruiting at the college level. So, I will have interns here that I prepare for professional roles. And best case scenario, when they graduate from college, there's an opening here, so I can hire them. If they're a good employee, we have student employees, so they get to kind of audition for full time work that way. So uh, it's a challenging job. You're always trying to adjust to the times because the technology changes, and the various ways that we have to in public media pivot. uh, you have to have management skills because every year is different. Some years you might not have a big challenge in terms of doing the journalism, but you may have a fundraising challenge, so you have to help the fundraising department do their job better because maybe fundraising is down. Other years, the big challenge might be personnel. Maybe you lose a key employee. That happened to me a couple of years ago. Someone left, had another opportunity, and they were very hard to replace. So you have to reorganize the work. Um, and I think in the future, this is going to be the biggest challenge: is uh, not only hiring the right people, but keeping them, retaining employees. So that takes a lot of planning and hard work, and it's something that I enjoy doing. But I to be honest, it's also it can be very stressful at times. So that's something to keep in mind when you are thinking about a career like this. The experience and education you get will help you move through those stressful times. One of the things that struck me about contributing to your effort to educate young people about life and career was you mentioned a term that is used a lot in business today called soft skills. And, you know, I can't emphasize enough the importance of being on time, the importance of doing your best, the importance of communicating to your supervisor and to your fellow employees and doing it in a respectful way. Um, Putting your phone down when you have a meeting with people, giving them your full attention and your respect. Those things and your work ethic can make all the difference in your life and your career. I tell this story often because it changed my life. A number of years ago, I hired a young man here who had a incredible work ethic, and he was only here with us as a reporter for 3 years. But in that time, he did 3 half-hour documentaries for television, in addition to doing his regular reporting work. And I wrote him a reference when he left, and he's now a reporter actually in London. Um, and I told him it was the easiest reference I've ever written, and also the best, because it really wrote itself. Because his work ethic, not only did it give us incredible, incredible work to present to our community about important topics, And not only did it build his career, but it raised the performance of everyone else in the organization. Because when you have someone who is a very hard worker and who really cares about what they're doing, um, everyone else wants to do better. And that's my message to all of you. When you do your great work, it doesn't just help you, and the work that you do doesn't just help society, but it really helps your coworkers. It really helps develop a team. Um, People want to do better when they see others doing better, and so be that example for everyone else, because you can you can really change things when you do that.